Hello and welcome to Extraordinary Women in Tech Diamond Interviews. Today I'm very excited to host Holly Camponez, my dear friend and exceptional leader. Hi, Holly. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let me tell you more about Holly. Holly is a global product leader and speaker. Currently, she's acting as a product executive for an international life sciences company. She's known for creating and nurturing global design leadership communities, including that bridge, launching a product, design, and strategy consultancy of over 150 people across 6 countries and 3 continents, and leading product and design transformation as a consultant herself for Fortune 100. Holly is known for her ability to build high-performing teams, lead powerfully through times of challenge, and inspire action over ego. Is that right, Holly? How was that? This is a summary.
It's a work in progress, Uli, but yeah, that's the deal.
I have so many questions, but I think I want to start to talk about a little bit about product. As a consultant and strategist for diverse clients over the years, what do you believe are the key differentiators for organizations that successfully drive innovations? And what do true product-led companies have in common?
I love this question because it's one of the things that when you start to embed yourself in a company, whether you're inside as a contributor or you're there as a consultant to move the needle on a specific product, over the years, I've kind of learned to hone. There are some markers that very quickly you can start to see, is this company, and then by extension, is this product going to be successful when it goes to the market? Is it even going to make it to the market, right? And so I think one of the markers that I first look at is really that last point that you shared in my introduction, which is prioritizing collaboration over ego. Because there's always going to be ego. Human beings are human beings. But when you get into the company and you start to understand the culture, very quickly it becomes apparent. Are these people who are key stakeholders and part of the core go-to-market team, are they there to make themselves look good? Or are they there to do something creative together? And there's so much in product that you have to be willing to sacrifice. It does not happen in a vacuum. It has to happen as a team collaboration. And you have to be willing to let go of what you wanted to have as your vision for the product. So I think the number one thing that I would say is collaboration over ego. The second thing that it's really important for any kind of product-led company or company that aspires to be product-led to consider is you have to be willing to fail and let go of perfection. We are not all Apple. We are not going to be Apple. Most of us never will be. There's very few companies in the market that operate like that successfully for a reason. It's a very easy trap to fall into, to think that you should just iterate and iterate and iterate until you're ready to go with the best of the best. But to be willing to let go of perfection and embrace progress instead, to be willing to make mistakes and learn, and even to be humble in front of your customers and say, yeah, we're learning, come be part of our pilot group, come explore with us, give us your feedback. You know, inviting people in early into the process and then iterating and learning with them. That's the key marker that I always look for.
You know, what I'm hearing is that inclusivity in a way that, completely goes on the other side of perfection, where you together creating a product. It's also a win-win, right, for everyone, instead of actually just perfecting on your own, to have a community and collaboration, as you said, not just at the company, but with your customers too. That's amazing. Now let's talk about the flip side. What are some of the common pitfalls to growth and innovation?
Yeah, I think I may have preempted the answer to this one a little bit in the previous question, but really it's that pursuit of perfection and this desire to kind of hold something back until you feel that it's so polished and perfect. And the reality is, if you think you're ever going to reach perfection, especially in the era of AI and fast iteration and the market changing, you're kidding yourself. And customers know that. You know, we're not going to pull one over on people that think that you've been sitting for years polishing this hidden gem and then it's going to come out and blow everyone away. The key is getting it out fast. Customers now are way more tolerant of companies that maybe they're still making mistakes. Maybe the product is still in progress, but they're acting quickly, they're reacting, they're taking on board feedback. And so I think the key thing is really just, you don't want to sit on it. If you sit on it in this climate for, it used to be, 5 years, I would have said, if you sit on it for a year and a half, you're too late. Now I'd say if you sit on it for 2 or 3 months, you're too late and the market's probably moved on. So you got to get it out fast. You got to hear from your customers and you got to be willing to iterate and always prioritize progress over perfection.
That's beautiful. In every area, right? Everything is moving with the speed of light, and the product as well. And I'm just always curious how really the smaller companies or startups going to keep up with the demand, but also maybe on the flip side, again, using the AI tools that big companies, it will take them months to implement. Are you guys using any AI tools? What is your strategy for implementing it?
Yeah, of course. I think there's something really, an interesting shift that I would say that AI has forced. And there's a lot of talk in the product community and the design community about AI and how it's changing the field. And some people are naysayers, some people are all in. I tend to fall somewhere in the middle. But one thing that I personally really appreciate about that shift is the tools are ubiquitous, right? So the way product and design, for example, are collaborating now, you can write a product requirements document using ChatGPT or a similar tool within minutes. And then your designers are going to use the same prompt framework and they're going to generate wireframes within minutes. So you are then, in the course of an hour, you're going to be aligned between product and design, whereas in the past it may have taken days. So if you're not using the tools, you're already behind. But that being said, it's also forced another really interesting shift, which is because you're no longer spending time doing those kind of time-consuming, like sitting down, typing things out. You move really quickly from idea phase into idea phase again. And as a designer, as a creative, I love that. I love spending more time in ideas and less time in that like very nitty-gritty manual, how do we execute and bring this to life kind of world. So it's forced design leaders, it's forced product leaders to really be strategists and to spend more time in the ideation phase and talking to customers.
No, this is great. And I know that you and I talked a little bit about your writing skills. You, as a writer, I know that there's a lot of blockers in our head. Is like, how do we really not lose this creative side of ours? As a writer, where do you see, at least you mentioned on the product side, that's clear, right? When you just free up your time to be more creative. But when you're a writer, is there a way for you to even look at some of the things from AI or ChatGPT? I know that you had a fair personal opinion about it at some point.
I'm gonna try to practice what I just said before and be humble and say I don't have a great answer to this. What I can share is how I'm thinking about it these days and what I'm wrestling with. Right alongside the shift in the industry for product and design to be more strategy players, more idea players, there's an interesting parallel. I don't want to say a backlash, but maybe kind of an undertow that is saying designers, we got to pull back to craft. We got to pull back and own this. You're going to hear over and over again this term of AI slop. And that's going to be applied to design work. It's going to be applied to particularly writing and the written word. I think that desire for a craft and a strong creative impulse is not going away. I think it's something that really is close to the heart of a human being, to be able to put your own story, your own narrative, your own values into words in a powerful and compelling way that you did it. And it was not a tool that did it for you. And if I were to go about a creative endeavor right now, if I wanted to write a poem, if I wanted to express something that was near and dear to my heart, I'm not going to not use AI, but I'm going to use it very differently. I'm not going to ask it to generate something for me, but I will use it for research. I'll use it to say, how else are other people thinking of this? Can you find me parallel examples? Where else in literature does this already appear? And then I'll go and study those sources. So it's actually not really that different from traditional creative as a craft, where you would be studying the sources of people that came before you. It's just a way really to accelerate that process. And then the craft still can be your own. You can still really put your hands and your heart into it in that way.
No, that's great. Thank you for sharing, because I know you have art and creativity in your heart, and then keeping and preserving that is important. And I think for other artists is so important as well. So let's talk a little bit about the two sides of your career journeys. Over the past 2 years, you've transitioned from a design leader to a product leader. What have you learned, and do you think about the two disciplines differently now?
I do, but I don't know that I think about it differently because I'm on the other side of it now, or because, again, that same shift has really created and forced a convergence of the two roles. So I value design more now as a product leader than I did 2 years ago when I was leading a design agency. Why? Because I really think, again, the heart of any good product is the customer. It's understanding the customer. And the role of design is not about wireframes. It's not about UI conventions. It's about being the voice of the customer and advocating for them. So whereas 4 years ago, 5 years ago, product meant kind of owning and grooming the product backlog and the features roadmap, it doesn't mean that anymore. You now have research, you have UX writing, you have the design. These all sit under the same umbrella of product and design. And I can't even say which one leads the other. And really, honestly, even engineering now, we used to think about product and design and then like, let's throw it over to the people who build it. It's not like that now. You can see examples in the market. Atlassian, Shopify, now when they're doing their design sprints, you have engineers in them because they're going to be bringing novel ideas too. The technical feasibility is part of the ideation and you get there faster together. So this idea of that triad, the triad exists of product design and engineering, but it looks really different today. And more you see those roles converging to where if I look ahead into the future, I don't necessarily know that it's going to be a 3-part structure at all. You may just get to the point where it's digital, and digital is just digital. And who comes with the ideas, who puts pen to paper, who figures out how to instrument it, it all really starts to blur together.
No, it's beautiful. I also think that not just in design, it's great to hear your perspective because you're the first design product leader that I'm interviewing. But I've talked to so many people on the engineering side, how the roles are blending, how we have less workforce, but more effective, communicative one force that really drives innovation together, including the innovative departments that are coming into like each area and they are, innovating together. So question a little bit about the past 2 years. I know it's been notoriously challenging, right? How has the market instability shaped or influenced your product and design leadership and strategy?
Yeah, I think the last couple of years, if you are a leader in the design world or in the product world, it's made you or it's broken you. It has been a very tough gig. I'm part of a lot of global design communities, and heartbreakingly, I have to say, I go to these meetings and I talk to my peers. These are pedigreed design leaders with incredible portfolios, incredible case studies, incredible list of histories of where they've been and where they've driven impact. And I see the same folks still job searching 2-3 years now. So it has been very tough. There is no denying that. For all the wonderful changes that AI has brought, I think we can talk to many other incredible women who are affecting change in the way people search for jobs. That's been hugely impacted. So what I will say in what's changed in my personal leadership is that the personal relationships become more important than ever, not just for landing a job, but once you're in the job, right? The way you're going to be able to drive impact, you have to be able to work with your cross-functional peers. You have to be able to find agreement. You have to be able to get to alignment. Again, leaving your ego behind, because it's never going to be a matter anymore about making a single team shine. And the teams, the leaders, and the companies that are successful in the last 2 years are the ones that have let go of who I am and my brand and my story. And they've come together, they've faced the music, they've looked at reality, and they said, if we pull together, what can we do? Not where did we get stopped? What were the headwinds? What were the blockers? But what can we still do, and how can we still meet real people? So I think more than anything, you and I share this value. We've always been relationships driven first, but the last 2 years, if anything, have just really reinforced that for me, that it's really, truly all about the relationships you can forge.
No, it's great. I also know you as a really, truly connector and relationship builder, right? Breaking all the silos, being the one offering to help and support, always been in your DNA. But now we're seeing that it's crucial to be successful in today's world, especially with AI and with market shrinking, and also thinking about who will be taking more responsibility, right, in terms of just organizationally and how they're blending, and having that human element, and being a great communicator, great listener. Also, what you said important about the ego, working with authentic, vulnerable space where you actually put everything aside and it's not your project, but it's our project together. I know you always had that in your mind as I worked with you before, but it's great to see that it's now a norm. And if you're not fitting in that, you're probably not going to be successful.
Now, the teams that I lead, I don't focus really at all on roles or job description. It's more like I'm going to interview for who are you and how are you willing to show up in getting an outcome that we as a business need. So I used to interview and I used to be very specific and think, okay, I need a UI designer and I want someone really focused on pixel perfection. Now I'm like, I need someone who can do that and who can play product manager and who can also be a project manager, because I'm not always going to have that kind of support, and who probably knows a little front end dev and can do that handoff. And above all, who's going to be a great communicator. So I think the title, the job description becomes so much less important than that personal profile and the ability to hop across lines and just do what needs to be done. And that's true whether you are an extremely well-funded or public company, or you've been profitable from day one, or you're a scrappy startup. It used to be more so that you have more definition and title in those large enterprise companies. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think that's becoming a universal standard.
I agree. I also think that you had so many different levels of companies that you worked with, and now you're seeing it at fastly grown and rich startups, right? That where they actually want to influence, but still the human interaction is very important. Mm-hmm. And with that, I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to a product and design managers looking to actually break into executive roles in the future?
I think I would want to say two things. And one just popped in my mind when we were talking earlier about creativity and art and AI. So that one is, fear is the enemy of growth. It's the enemy of creativity. So find out where fear lives in your heart and root it out and confront it. Because if you're afraid to look bad, if you're afraid to be stupid, if you're afraid to be in the one in the room who's got a question, you're stuck. You're stuck and you're not going anywhere. So find fear and root it out. The second piece of advice that I would have is just to invest in your curiosity. You and I both are parents. And I think when I think about what is the best gift that I could ever give to my children, how could I set them up to be successful? I don't know what the world is going to look like in 15 years when they start entering the job market. I have no idea. And I know that I can't know that. But the one thing that I think will set them up for success, no matter what the world is going to look like then, is to be curious and to ask the questions and to do it for the sake of really just genuinely wanting to know versus, driving toward a particular outcome or looking or presenting a certain way. So find your fear, root it out, and find your curiosity and cultivate it.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Holly. I know we don't have this on the map, but I have a question for you.
Okay.
You went from so many different aspects and roles, from artistic side and then marketing side, design and product. And I know that you have this always curious mind and you keep wanting to learn and get to new things. So let's think about 2026 and what Holly really wants for herself for next year, either personally or in your career. What desires that you have right now, and then maybe some outcomes that you want to share with us for 2026.
I love this question, but it's catching me off guard because I think as women, we don't think a lot about our personal desires, right? Either personally or even in our career. But I think the same desires that I have for myself is the same advice that I would give to anyone who's up and coming. I know that there are places that fear gets the best of me in my life. There are places in my career where I want to be more curious. So I think if I had to sum it up, I'd say that I want powerful growth and transformation and confrontation in 2026. I want a lot of what's new. I want a lot of what's unknown and a lot of adventure. And I'll say that covers both the personal and the professional side.
Yes. So you actually embracing the unknown, and then you throwing yourself out there with curiosity, and your artistic side is like, bring it on, whatever
the universe sends me.
Yes. Well, Holly, thank you so much for joining. It was such a joy to talk to you and get your perspective. I'm really curious about the future of how everything is transforming into one big unit between design and product, and would love to talk to you in a couple of years and see what's changed for you and what's changed for the industry as well.
Anytime. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.